We're told you're in a close race here. The polls, depends on which one you have it. You're smiling a few points, probably in your direction. Fox has it as a, quote, lean R state. Are you more likely to win this race now than you were a couple of weeks ago before the Kavanaugh process began?
Oh, sure. But look, we were going to win before, we're going to win now. And yes, we have a race. We have a real race in Texas. And the reason is simple. The left is energized. They're really angry.
Republican Senator Ted Cruz of Texas telling Connell McShane today in Houston that for better or for worse, anger is a driver, and it drives voters to the polls. He now faces a very close race with Democrat Beto O'Rourke post-Kavanaugh hearings. Anti-Kavanaugh protesters flooding the streets outside the Supreme Court this weekend, showing that anger that Senator Cruz was talking about. The left is saying, quote, get ready for a blue wave come midterm elections. But could that blue wave be coming up against a red wall of Republican enthusiasm in the wake of this Supreme Court battle? Joining us now for both sides of the aisle discussion, former aide to Senator Chuck Schumer and syndicated radio host Chris Hahn, and White House senior staff member to President George W. Bush, Republican strategist Brad Blakeman. Chris, I will begin with you. This is a battle of which side has more momentum that it was able to grab from the Kavanaugh outcome. Make your case as to why it's the Democrats, I would imagine you're going to say, who has that swell of movement.
Well, it's hard to stay angry when you've won. I mean, Brett Kavanaugh is on the Supreme Court. So I find it really hard to believe that 30 days from now, blue-collar Republican voters are going to be worked up about Brett Kavanaugh, a guy who probably reminds him more of Ted McGinley's character in Revenge of the Nerds than anybody they know in their regular life. Meanwhile, Democrats were already fired up, and they're coming out this year. And I'll make one more point. And Brad will agree with me on this. The Republican base is pretty consistent. They are pretty solid. They come out for every election, dog catcher, Congress, whatever it is, they show up at the polls. The Democratic base is a little bit more wishy-washy. They have to be motivated to come out. And every poll we've seen, including polls that show increasing Republican enthusiasm, show the Democratic base incredibly fired up, more than we've seen them in some time. So I expect a huge Democratic turnout in November. I think they'll win the House. And I think the Senate's a toss-up, and we'll see what happens.
Brad, history. How does history propel this race? And let's just eliminate for a second the Kavanaugh story, but does history favor the party during the midterms that holds the seats?
It does not. Since the Civil War, the party that controls the White House, on average, loses about 33 House seats and 2 Senate seats, so we can't afford that. While history is not with us, results are with us. It's not enough to be angry. It's not enough to be against something. Resistance versus results. Republicans have delivered. As a matter of fact, we've underpromised and overdelivered on the economy, on cutting regulation. The economy has never been better, and midterm voters, we know, tend to vote on the economy. So while history is against us, results are with us, and I think at the end that'll carry the day.
Chris, how do Democrats talk down a very good economy, and do they even want to talk down a good economy, which is strong and is getting apparently stronger, although the trade deal and the trade battles could certainly throw a wrench into that picture?
Well, look, I think the economy is very strong, but Obama in 2014 had 3 of his best quarters of economic growth. And as you know, Liz, the stock market was booming in 2014, and he got shellacked in those midterms. So the economy isn't always a good sign. What happens in a midterm is the party out of power tends to be the ones motivated to come out and vote. And people are angry. I think this election is more about checks and balances and Article 51 of the Federalist Papers than it is about people's checkbooks. People want to see a Congress that is putting a proper check on the president, not a rubber stamp. Americans like divided government. They don't like to see untested power, and that's what they have right now. So I think you're going to see a very competitive election. I think the Democrats are going to pick up about 40 seats in the House. And again, depending on what happens in the Senate, it's very odd for the Democrats to make these kind of gains in the House and not make gains in the Senate. But this is a very difficult map for Senate Democrats, and I think it's at best a toss-up for them.
Brad, the stock market and our viewers, they want to know how this train continues to run, and will it? And it looks like it is right now. Look, the Dow fought back from a deficit of, I don't know, where were we? Down this is crazy. We were down 223 points earlier, and now we're up 74 points. You can see what the markets have done since the election, although we deal in facts and numbers. Both the Dow and the S&P and the NASDAQ had incredible runs over Obama's 8 years. So both presidents have had a great stock market. How do you frame that in the whole discussion of the midterms, Brad?
If you like the way things are going, and things can even get better, then keep Republicans in power. If you want, as Chris points out, a divided government at this point in our economy and this point in our history, then you're going to have gridlock, and nothing will get done until 2020 when we have the battle royale in the re-elect. So my caution to Republicans is, you like the way things are. If you like it, then you better get out and bring your friends. And for Democrats, my caution is, it's not enough to be against something. It's not enough to be angry. You got to stand for something. So far, Democrats stand for nothing except resistance to Donald Trump.
Here's what I'm seeing. Here's what I'm seeing in the polls. Even people who like Donald Trump don't trust Donald Trump. And that would scare me to death if I was running for Congress as a Republican right now. Because they're going to say, hey, we need somebody to keep an eye on Donald Trump. And that's what it's going to be. Look, the economy's great, whatever. This election is about Donald Trump, as almost all our politics have been since he came down that escalator 4 years ago.
Well, we'll see, and it depends on which polls you're looking at. But you have some people saying they do trust him. So I say forget about the polls for the minute. Let's wait till we see the votes coming in. Brad and Chris, thank you so much.